Fable 2 is a role-playing game, but it's a role-playing game which is very different to other role-playing games. It's got some totally new inventions in it. It's got this thing that's called a dog. You can hear him in the background there. He's a completely piece of artificial intelligence. It's got this incredible story which kind of morphs around what you're like. It allows you to be whoever you want to be, whether it's good or evil or kind or cruel or pure or corrupt. It's a game that has got an enormous free-roaming world where you can do things like get married and have children and buy things like houses and shops and castles. It is a game that has this combat system which is completely flexible, where any casual gamer can play alongside a core game. It's so deep that a core gamer won't be able to find the depths of it, but a casual gamer will be able to access. It is, I think, as good as anything I've ever worked on. I don't think of Fable 2 as a sequel, because if we do ever work on any other Fables, I always want it to completely surprise you. So what we've done is taken the things from Fable 1 which we thought worked really well, you know, the world, the sort of the flavour of the world, the charm of the world, the humour of the game, the feeling that this was, you know, more than just an action fighting game that was a simulation. So we've taken those bits and completely reinvented them. So free roaming through the world, for example. Fable 1 was on the corridor. Fable 2 is completely free roamable. Fable 1 had, yeah, you could get married, but it didn't really do anything. In Fable 2, it does something. It changes your game. It changes people's reputation of you. You can marry people and get a dowry. You can marry people and get certain power-ups. It actually does something in the world. And so I think of Fable 2 to be, you know, I would call it a revolution. But I mean, these sort of statements get me into an awful lot of trouble. You know, there's a lot to be proud about in Fable 2. I mean, there's all the mechanics. I'm incredibly proud about the dog. He's a thing which, when I first suggested it, everyone thought it was just crazy, and you know, it's worked out really well. I'm immensely proud about that we've got rid of the mini-map and replaced it with this thing called a glowing trail, and it just leads to a completely different way of playing the game. I'm tremendously proud about the co-op and the dynamic co-op stuff. But all of that pales into insignificance when it comes to the story. I think it's the story and how that emotional the story is and how well told it is. And I want this story to be one of the stories that you remember for the rest of your life. And we went to enormous lengths to try and write a truly great story. And I hope we've achieved that. One of the things is that we've got to make sure that the story is similar for everybody who plays it. And that word similar, I think, is the one that I want you to take away. Not the same, but similar. Your character, your world, what you've touched, your dog, is going to be different. And that means the story is slightly different. But if we can't discuss that story, then it's no good. And we've got a lot of experience about morphing and changing the hero and giving you these moral choices. In Fable 2, those moral choices are very, very different now. They are as much to do with cruelty and kindness and greed and generosity and purity and corruption as they were to do with good and evil. And that means that slowly, I hope you come to realize that this hero here is a truly a reflection of you and what you're like. And what makes that even more powerful for the story and for the game itself is when you visit someone else's game, because this is completely dynamic co-op over live, because you can walk up to people in your world who are playing their single player games on their machines in the form of these ghosts and leap into someone else's world. It's only when you're in that other person's world, gee, you know, people really like you and they hate me, or you know, why does your wife nag you so much? My wife's really sweet to me. It's things like that which I absolutely love. I absolutely love that this feeling that I have in some way created this world, not by clicking on icons or making binary choices, but just by being myself. I've learned a lot of lessons in the past. I mean, when I worked on Fable 1, I told the world about every single feature, every single experiment. I talked excitedly about everything in Fable 1. And the lesson I learned, and maybe this is the lesson from Spore, is that when you start laying these promises down there, people take it very, very seriously. And then when they come to review the game, of course, if there's nothing else for them to find out about, they're going to end up disappointed. And so with Fable 2, I've been very careful to button my blabbering lips and only talk about things I could show, first of all, and secondly, to leave things like the story and what you can do in the world and how the world interacts with things for you to discover, so that I don't overpromise and the game over-delivers.